Yes, yes, we're ready to go live. We're ready to go live. Welcome to High G's again for another episode of the JFDI podcast. I am absolutely thrilled to have my guest with me tonight. He's an old friend of mine. We've done this before, and I had a brilliant time then, and I know that we're going to have a brilliant time tonight. I'm pretty sure there was something that I meant to do as a jingle. I've still not got round to it, so you're still going to have to hear from our sponsors every now and again through the show, because that's kind of what we're doing here. So when things like this happen, grab your copy of Disappearing Scotsman now at the disappearingscotsman.com. It's just like an advert, right? So I'll do another one later, maybe if Mr. L in the green room is gonna let me. I'm sure he will. So listen, tonight's guest, I spoke to him before on Instagram. In series 1 of the Finding Purpose through JFDI. And if you've not seen that, go check it out. But the last time we spoke about we spoke about old times in the military. We spoke about laughing at life, about taking on COVID, about running, losing 26 pounds of weight. We talked about transforming a boat, keyboard lessons, and experientialism over materialism. Say that after a couple of pints. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a big warm welcome to Mr. Paul Langdon. Good evening, my friend.
Good evening. How are you?
I am very, very well. I'm very well. How are you?
All is good. All is good. No complaints my side.
Brilliant. Straight in. I want to pick up where we had just closed in the green room there. So no luck, everybody. That's private unseen footage. If you want that, you're gonna have to offer us some serious bribe, right? But anyway, we'll pick up there. Paul, pleasure to have you on.
Thank you.
Really nice to see you. And look, somebody said to me over the last couple of weeks, they went, "Oh, you've made an effort. You've really made an effort tonight, mate. So thank you."
You know what? Picking those songs it was so difficult, because although these songs I picked tonight mean a lot to me, I could have picked these different 5 songs 20 times over and put myself in that place in time where they travel me through life.
Yeah.
I've not even come up to this full time yet. You know, there's music I listen to now, and I try and listen to new music a lot that I've not included in here. It's just time's gone by in this music.
Yeah. Do you find that as songs kind of float in and float out, that there's stuff you listen to more regularly, there's stuff you always come back to, and then there's those tunes that just that they're always there, they always have been, and you can kind of pick them out, but those themselves can kind of, in to a certain degree, not come and go, but you remember more at different times, and maybe different times through the year and stuff.
These songs I've picked are 30 years old plus, and yeah, and you're right, they stand the test of time for me.
Yeah.
As you know, on a Thursday, Alison and I have a disco night. We stick on YouTube, we stick on music, and tunes that we listen to are these plus more. And I could have picked so many. Salisbury Hill, the Peter Gabriel song, the DNA one.
Yeah,
that came on tonight earlier. Absolutely every Thursday that comes on. It's just a fantastic song of Peter Gabriel traveling through life and listening, doing a live recording of his song, and it's just brilliant.
Magic, innit? Yeah. You've got to do it. Should we go straight into your first tune?
Yeah. Do you want to talk about Bruce?
Spirit in the Night. I was listening to this evening, and oh man, what a tune! But tell me the story.
This is crazy. When I was about 15, there was a cassette landed in my front garden. I don't know who put it there. I just picked it up and I played.
Like out a flying car, or
I do not know to this day. It was a sign, and it was Greetings from Asbury Park, New Jersey. So it was the Bruce Springsteen's first album. And on it was Blinded by the Light, which Manfred Mann covered and made it into a hit single. And I started playing it, and it was like, oof. So I was listening to Bob Dylan at the time, and I knew Bruce Springsteen had been influenced by Bob Dylan. I knew Bob Dylan had been influenced by Woody Guthrie, and this sort of family of influential artists travelled down to me, and I was like, oh, so I'll give Springsteen a listen. And I did. And oh my God. And then I played this album and Spirit in the Night. You know, you can listen to the lyrics, you know, Wild Billy and his friend G-Man, Hazy Davy, Killer Joe, Crazy Jane, and the Mission Man. They basically went up to Greasy Lake, up to a lake, got on the lash, you know, and you take it back to RAF days when we just used to go out, you know, and it was this group of people coming together and getting on it and having a good time. And it's fantastic lyrics. It's stuck with me ever since. I play it on the guitar, and it's fantastic. And then I went to see Springsteen in 1985 in the Born in the USA tour. So that was in St. James's Park when I was at Bulmer. And it was just brilliant. So, you know, going there with friends and doing what we did.
How old were you at the time, did you say?
So I was 15 when I first listened to Springsteen.
Yeah.
I mean, Greetings from Asbury Park, I think, came out in about 73, you know, the album. And, you know, Columbia Records had said, when he first produced the album, said there's no hits on there, go away and write me some hits. And he came back with, I think it was Blinded by the Light and Spirit in the Night.
Wow.
So, yeah.
What were they saying? Going away and writing some hits.
Yeah, so he went away and wrote some more songs, you know, and they weren't originally on the album.
Oh,
and, you know, to do that, you know, and I've listened to Springsteen ever since. You know, his latest album is up there in my eyes as well. You know, it's fantastic. You know, right, an album was 71.
I came to him late, to be honest, and I'll tell you, I'd never really listened to him in any sort of great depth until he played at Glastonbury, and I watched him at Glastonbury, and I was kind of like, oh wow, that is something. You know, I knew who he was when I was growing up, but like there's a lot of artists that I've seen perform on that stage at Glastonbury, and kind of gone, okay, I wasn't a big fan before, but yeah, I get it now. You're good.
The gig I saw, which was the Born in the USA tour, so I was listening to that during basic training. I bought the album, in fact, the cassette in basic training, and along with Bob Dylan bringing it all back home, I went into Lincoln and got them. But at the gig, he played for 2.5 hours. There was no support. Didn't need it. It was just fantastic. And there was a good friend of mine, a techie called John Boyle. And John was, you know, he had forearms like my thighs. He was a big guy. And of course, little old me, I can't see nothing. There's about 20,000 people in front of me when I was standing. And John was pushing people away and lifting me up and giving it, make way for the wee man. I was like, get in. Loved it. Off my head on beer, obviously. But fantastic gig. And then afterwards, in fact, it was the next day, went to the Tanner's pub in Alnwick.
Yeah.
And a guy walked in and he went, and me and my mate who'd been, we had the Born in the USA tour t-shirts on, as you did back in the day. And he said, were you at the gig, guys? I said, yeah. He said, do you want to buy some pictures? And he'd taken 4 photographs. And I bought them off him for £1.70. And they were fantastic. So I've got the boss. I've got Bruce Springsteen posing basically for this guy who's right at the front taking these pictures. And they're great. They're treasured photographs.
Fantastic. Have you got them framed and everything now?
They're up in the loft.
Just like me.
Yeah, but I'll never get rid of them. Yeah, I know, it's one of those.
No, there's certain things that you don't throw out the loft. But it's interesting. This last week, as we've been preparing to move into Force Forward HQ, I've been moving a lot more boxes around, as I showed you earlier on. And that's before we move on to the next song, it was something I wanted to just touch on again, because anybody that watched the last time, and I'm really curious, and because it's something that we spoke about, it's resonated. I'm just all for like getting rid of stuff that we no longer need, and I thought I would ask, how the whole minimalism or decluttering of the Langdon household and is going.
I don't call it minimalism.
Yeah.
I do call it decluttering, and I do buy things that give me experiences. So the things in my room, in my little music studio here, I'm buying things for the experience and not, for the sake of it. I've still got 10 t-shirts, I've still got 4 polo shirts, 4 pairs of jeans. I'm still limited in terms of what I buy that side. And if I buy something, I'll throw something out, which is great. I continue to do it every week. I'm throwing things out that I don't need. So as I've done my music studio, I realised I don't need, I've got 3 flight cases. I don't need, I'm not playing live anymore. I've played with a band for 12 years and we're not doing it anymore. So why do I need 3 flight cases? I need one to store some cables. That's it. So the other 2 are going to go. And I'll put them on, Free Cycle, Gumtree for free. Same as I've got big band speakers. They're going to go for free. Just get rid, So it's ongoing. I'm even decluttering the garden. I'm throwing out things now. I'm looking at the garden and thinking, you know what? Let's be brutal. I don't need that plant. I don't need it. And I've given them to neighbours. Because I don't need it. And why should you keep something you don't want?
It's such a nice feeling, isn't it? And when you can make a couple of quid on it as well, why would you not, right?
Absolutely.
Put that money for experiences.
I look at cables for my band speakers, and they go for 20 quid on eBay second hand. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I'll give them away for nothing. If anyone wants them listening, give us a shout. You can have them.
Well, I tell you what, when HQ conversion was ongoing, and we had the builders were in, and I was like, they were saying, right, what's happening with the storage unit in here? And I was like, it's just going to go to the skip. They were like, get it on flipping Facebook Marketplace. They went, and whilst you're about it, get your garage door on there as well. And I was like, what? Garage door? So anyway, 2 days later, my garage door's gone. Within 24 hours, my storage is gone. I've got, I think it was 80 quid in my back pocket. And I was like, Karen, as soon as this is all done, you and I were off for a nice meal somewhere. Now she'll keep me to that as well. But it's brilliant. I just, and that's why moving in there now, it's like another big declutter. It's like, right, everything we don't need out the loft, go. Everything we don't need that was in the garage that I've not used in 5 years, get out of my life. I don't need you anymore.
It's easy. Yeah. I mean, my next door neighbours, they were so thankful. I gave them some box tree, bush things, I don't know, box tree things. And she was like, oh my God, these are like 30 quid to buy in the garden centre. Well, I give her 4. And because I said, I don't need them. So have them, and she went, oh my God, thank you. I said, it's nice to be nice. It didn't cost me anything. It saved me a trip to the tip. Happy days.
What advice would you give to anybody watching that thinks, do you know what, I could maybe just do with decluttering my life a little?
it's that old thing, isn't it? Do you want it? Do you need it? Oomph. Look at the sentimental value. If it's sentimental to you and you want to keep it, it gives you pleasure, keep it. If it doesn't, get shot. And I say I'm not minimalist. You know, I've got a few guitars on the wall. If I was a minimalist, I'd have one guitar. I mean, I've got four and a mandolin because I enjoy playing them. They all give me a different vibe. You know, it's that approach. You know, don't get rid of something that you use and you like. First thing, clothes, because you will not wear all your clothes. You'll keep things, especially. I mean, Alison does it. I might get back into that. I know you're never going to wear it again because it's outdated. You know, it's just one of those things that, you know, you're not going to do. So get shot of it.
Yeah, be gone.
I've got so much room in my wardrobe, it says. And I don't have to think. I don't waste time thinking about things.
Right. Brilliant.
5 white shirts for work are there.
Give it a go. Give it a go, people. Give your decluttering a shot.
Because it declutters the mind.
It does. It's like quite liberating, I find.
Therapeutic.
Yeah. Cathartic, liberating, just refreshing as well. Yeah. Should we move on to song number 2? It's like almost 8:20.
I thought for 5 minutes in between songs.
It's all right. We'll rattle through the next few. Don't worry. It'll flow. We're getting good at it. So, and a bang on the ear by the Water Boys.
You know what? You know, I've only recently listened to this song the last 6 months, maybe even less. And
when was it from? About 1985 or something?
Probably, 85, A Pagan's Place album. I listened to This Is the Sea in 85, which was the Waterboys' third album and the definitive album that sort of crossed that bit, you know, to make them famous with The Hole of the Moon. And, you know, This Is the Sea had everything political, you know, with Old England Is Dying and Your Love with trumpets, you know, it had everything as an album, This Is the Sea. Brilliant. So, and I thought long and hard about artists I wanted to include in this chat. And Mike Scott, you know, I used to play Fisherman's Blues with the band and sing. And our drummer, a guy called Drew Steele, was friends with Mike Scott in university, and he actually drummed with Mike. And so when I was at BAE, and you know, Drew and we played with the band, and I said, you know, Drew knew I liked the Waterboys, and he said, "Oh, I'm still in touch with Mike," and they email each other, and I'm like, God, he's a god to me. You know, the songwriting is fantastic, and that's what I look at with songs is quite a lot of the lyrics really, than you know, as well as the melodies, but you know, the lyrics sort of appeal to me.
Yeah.
And Drew gave me a Waterboys demo that Mike Scott had sent him. And I was like, oh my God, you know, hopefully I've still got it. I don't know. But it was quite strange because, you know, the Waterboys could have been as big as U2 easy back in the day. Mike Scott, well, he took the band to Galway and off they went to Spittle House and recorded, you know, this song, which is a fantastic song, you know, and as you're probably aware, A Bang on the Ear, it's a kiss on the cheek, it's a kiss on the thing. And I didn't realise that, you know, until I started listening and researching the songs, as I always do about songs, you know, I sort of delve into them. And I just thought, you know, he's a genius, and he's just brilliant. So as a songwriter, fantastic. And I could have picked a number of Waterboy songs, but this one I've been listening to recently, and I just love it. It's a love story, and it's so honest. You know, how many of us would love to ask a girl out in school, but you were too shy to ask? That is just a fantastic line. We've all been there. We've all been there, you know, and that shyness of adolescence. Fantastic. Love it.
Yeah, I love it. I absolutely love it. Talking about adolescence, should we say hello to some of our guests?
Who's on? Who's there?
All right, we've got Ali back in the house. Says Paul, yes. We've got Mr. Delta Mike Lima. You could have sorted your Barnet, sir. Oh, he's having a dig at me. Nice one. Thanks, Dave.
I can't sort mine.
It's always the folk with no hair that make the comments about us with luscious locks, right?
I tell you what, this has got so many.
What have we got? Taff. Here you go.
Yeah, I could, but I'm not going to.
All right, what else have we got? Mr. B.
Oh, Gary B.
He said be entertaining, no pressure. Well, I don't know. Tell us whether we've been entertaining or not.
You know what I do? I just talk.
Hey, they're still here. Who else? Vicky.
Oh, Vicky. We go back to about 1984, Vicky and I.
Around the time of the Water Boys.
Yeah, absolutely.
There you go. Mr. Morris in the house.
Good man.
Mrs. Richardson. And who have I missed? Oh, better not miss this guy out.
Mr. Green Fuzzy Pants.
Yes. Good evening, AOH.
Yeah.
Oh yes, he was in reference to the Water Boys there, I think, mate.
Yes. Yeah. And you know, it's quite hard to leave a band out of 5 songs, you know, where you're choosing through your life that have made a big impact on you.
I know. Mr. Fairclough, good evening.
The man's doing well.
He is. Your name cropped up earlier on in the most pleasant of terms, correct? And
Paul.
Mr. C. Good evening, everyone. Here we go. Right, next song, because we spent ages just gabbing, and that's brilliant. But this one I had on this evening, and it is. I've actually had forgotten. I've not listened to it in ages, and I was just like, and I'm going to let you explain, but I'm going to do a little segue in between this and your next song, because I was getting ready, and I put this one on, and then all of a sudden I felt really tired. I was like just dead chilled, and I didn't need to be dead chilled. I wanted to be like, come on, let's go. But that will be what Pink Floyd do to you, right? On the Turning Away.
Yeah. So
Chin.
I've always loved Pink Floyd. My brother, 2 years older than me, started listening to them before me growing up. You know, and I listened to The Wall growing up, and it was a massive impact, you know, hey, teacher, leave those kids alone. You know, when I was in school, absolutely fantastic. And, well, I was a young lad then. And then the Momentary Lapse of Reason tour and an album, my brother bought me the CD for a birthday, I think, or Christmas. And then him and his friend Legs came up from deepest, darkest South Wales up to Stanmore, and we went to the gig together. And it was just brilliant, you know, even from going down from Stanmore to Paddington to pick them up.
Yeah.
My brother, you know, and Legs, not been out of Wales much, I suppose, at the time. And they were on the tube, and you could see them, and they were going, cool. You know, that's what they were saying to me. And I was giving it, chill out, it's okay, you know, it's all right. And you know, I took them home, and we went down to Wembley, and we sat must have been about 5 feet from the Royal Box.
Yeah.
And in the Royal Box was like Bob Geldof, Phil Collins, and you know, these artists, and then sort of Pink Floyd come on. And at the time, it was the biggest stage at Wembley in history, I think. Had the pig flying through the sort of the ground, the lasers in its eyes, you know, and it was just one of those. And the sound, and it was the tour as well. After Pink Floyd had split up, they'd made the album the year before the final cut, and Roger Waters had left the group. So he thought they'd all split up. And David Gilmour went, So him and Nick Mason, the drummer, used Rick Wright, who was the session keyboard guy, Roger Waters' sort of demoted him to the session guy, but Dave Gilmour got him on board, and off they went. And of course, Momentary Lapse of Reason was absolutely brilliant album. On the Turn in a Way, the song was a political song, you know, about those that turn away from the pain and downtrodden, and you know, you can fathom out the lines yourself, but it's a very political song. And Roger Waters made Radio Chaos, Chaos, which was a brilliant album, but Momentary Lapse in Reason outsold it massively. And that was a massive clash between Roger Waters and David Gilmour and Pink Floyd, because Roger Waters tried to sue them, and you know, it was a big upheaval in the music industry at the time. But the song and the album, just absolutely brilliant. Yeah, it was probably 1989. I think the tour was when I saw them down at Wembley. Right. Just brilliant. And they played the week after Michael Jackson had played. And all the papers were obviously enthralled about Michael Jackson playing. And then when Pink Floyd came on, they went, oh my God, that just blew Jackson away, which pleased me, because obviously I wasn't at the Jackson concert, but, you know, as good an artist as he was, but, you know, Pink Floyd were just the best live concert I'll ever see in terms of music quality. Superb. I've never seen a concert.
Nothing to top them. Do you know who there's one person for me that's done that in my life that I've seen on the stage, and I had the privilege and honor. I don't know whether Mr. Osborne is watching tonight, but he'll cringe. Some other people might kind of go, oh no, but there will be those that truly appreciate music that go, yeah, I understand that. The person that did that for me is Prince. Three times I got to see him. I was lucky enough, and nobody else, apart from Andrew Rochford, no. and I'm serious, right? There's something about going to an Andrew Rochford gig, and Embrace at the Barras, but there's something about those that's electric. And there's some of those smaller gigs. You could probably name about half a dozen, 10 artists where if you see them in a particular venue, it's just amazing. But everything you've described, those feelings, that the kind of quality of the music, the performance, you know, the visual. I've never seen anything quite like Prince, but I can see that. The closest I got to Pink Floyd was with Delta Mike Lima, who's watching tonight, and I watched, was it the Australian Pink Floyd? I think we watched at the Royal Albert Hall.
I feel very good, yeah.
So yes, best band you've ever seen. Yes. Mr. Large and I were talking just around his birthday, and I'm not sure if it was that chat or the one before, or maybe I should save this for when I get him on. But he told me his story about Pink Floyd, and it's fascinating as well, like yours. The memories that these live gigs can conjure up is just amazing, isn't it?
Well, I nearly put in my song list a song by Kathleen Edwards, which most people would say who. And I was in Manchester in the Gorilla Club with two other mates. And I've seen Kathleen Edwards 3 times, and she's a Canadian singer-songwriter. Probably, you could argue she might be countrified, you know, but I think she's very talented. Obviously, so do my other 2 mates. And I was singing a song called Mercury. So she's playing it, the Gorilla Club is quiet, and she's singing a song called Mercury. Well, I'd had a few, so I'm singing along, right? So she starts off, and it's very high, and Mercury, it's about a car parked outside. And anyway, she stops the band. So we go through a couple of lines, and I'm singing, and she went, stop, who's the singer? And she points down, and of course, it's me, dickhead. So I'm like, oops. So of course, right, she went, oh my God, that's great, right, we're going to start again. Boom. And it was like a poignant moment. It was, brilliant to, see someone who you love playing guitar and singing, and then go through all this. And at the end of the night, she says, "Good night, Manchester. Good night, singer." I was like, yes. Gubbed, obviously. But I was like, get in. Nice. Yeah. And that's Kathleen Edwards, So, Mercury. Nearly put it in the list tonight. Music puts you in a time and place, as I've said. It's a new thing, and it's a personal thing.
Yeah. I love it. And so I'm not sure whether to. No, do you know what? I'm going to ask you this now because it's on the vein of what we're talking about. You love it. You love a challenge, right? Constantly challenging yourself, right? What sort of
challenging myself? I'd probably say attempting new things, trying new things.
Right. So I had a question written down here for you, but as I kind of said, I'm going to adapt it slightly, right? Because we can see the studio that you're in, like the microphone, the background there. You're pulling this together. You're getting, building on your love of guitar, playing guitar and keyboard, right? And you're in there now. And I was going to ask you, well, about the next big challenge, about where are you going? Where are you setting your sights on, what you want to achieve in the studio?
Yeah, the internet's not very clever here, Graham.
Did I lose you?
Yeah. Sorry, you're back. Okay. So what my challenge is, or what I'm looking at going forward?
Yeah, what you doing? Because we talk about kind of that, where we're saying about getting stuck in, making the most of life, and all of that jazz.
Yeah.
Right. So, and you're kind of, it's like, right, okay, I'm gonna learn this. So it's like, we know you're learning the keyboard, but you're pulling the studio. What you looking at doing next? Are we gonna I guess I'm saying, are we gonna get a single?
So
or a collaboration?
So the studio is this last month's really thing. So I've built two rack systems behind me to house some equipment. I've purchased a bit of gear for the experience. I'm going to produce the music, make the music. And I've got new kit, Novation Circuit Tracks is a synthesizer stroke drum machine, which I'm getting the grips with. I bought last week, 2 weeks ago. And it's just fantastic, because you're taking the waveform of music and just making it, that's something brilliant in terms of making music from scratch, because that's what you're doing with the synth. So my next purchases are a Korg Minilog XD synthesizer.
Yeah.
And the mixer desk, which I've had a mixer before, but I'm going to get a rack one. And then I'm good to go in terms of, I've got all the kit I need to make some music, and that's what I want to do. I say it's a personal thing. I'm not going to put it out there. I doubt it very much. It's not going to be on YouTube or anything. It's just for me.
Share it with me, mate. I won't let anybody hear it at all. I promise.
I mean, I love playing guitar and singing, and that's always been a personal thing. That's why I started playing guitar, because of Bob Dylan. My parents got an old guitar that they wanted to go to the local library, in fact, to play. And the lessons were cancelled, so I just picked it up and started playing the chords of A and D, and off I went. I don't know many more chords now, but I enjoy playing.
But mate, doing it, this is the whole point. You're just freaking doing it, right? You're going for it. And wouldn't it be good if any of the music was good, if you had a mate that had like a radio station? Imagine that.
Who would have a radio station?
We could just play it all round the clock. So when the DFDI podcast isn't playing, all right, mate.
So you said at the beginning of this, Graham, you wanted to present at a radio station. What are you doing about that?
I'm just fucking doing it. What
are you doing from home?
Are we not pretty much doing it right now?
Yeah, absolutely that.
We are. This is what we're doing. Let's move on to the next track. And a few more comments. The music will surely available to friends, Taff. Yeah, there. Yeah, too right, Mo. And Mr. Hamilton's in the house. Got to be shared, mate. You know it makes sense. Yeah, I see you've got a public that wants it now, mate.
I wouldn't say two people on a public.
All right. So, you know, when I was saying earlier that I was kind of getting ready and getting myself G'd up for tonight, I was like listening to my tunes, and I was listening to some of your tunes. Pink Floyd kind of was like, I was like, oh, I'm feeling all sleepy. And then the next tune came on, and I was like, come on. Fergus Sings the Blues by Deacon Blue. I love this song. Tell me, what's the deal with this?
So Deacon Blue transcend that, my tours between Stanmore and Buchan.
Yeah.
You know, that album, When the World Knows Your Name, I mean, on a New Year's Day, Wages Day, you know, and obviously Fergus Sings the Blues. And again, those lyrics, Homesick James, my biggest influence. You know, he was a blues guy, and James and Bobby, Purify. I mean, they had hits back in the 60s, these guys. And I just think that to sing about that, you know your music history that's come through. And I just love it. You know, I could have picked a number of Deacon Blue songs, but I think that just puts me in the time between Stanmore and Buchan, you know, in that 89 era. And I think Fergus Sings the Blues was just before. But yeah, very good, very good. And, you know, that is the most modern song I've got. You know, and that's what I was saying. You know, I listen to a lot of modern music, but I sort of stopped at Buchan with my music going through. And as I said, you know, these are not my favourite songs in no way, shape, or imagination. You know, I could have picked a number of songs, but yeah, they all mean something. You know, and I tell you what, Fergus Sings the Blues and Deacon Blue, it reminds me of driving my old Escort, beige Escort. I used to call it the Bluesmobile. AOH will remember this. And we taking people back, you know, when we used to stack early on a night shift, taking people back to the admin site, and then you know, yeah, I can't even remember it, but I'd be taking. You know,
I remember being taken back down on an evening shift by Oz in that. He was off his head. Well, he was. Let me put it this way: he was a very good driver, but on the rare occasions when they had to do 2 runs and you were like one of them with a couple in the back, he's a fucking animal. And I used to goad them on as well. I'd be like, "Come on, Osborne, put your fucking foot down. Come on."
Well, that's what we used to do. You know, we used to do the runs back and forth to get people home, didn't we? So they didn't have to wait for the bus, or you know, you didn't have to wait to give the bus a ring to come up to the op site. So, but I used to play. I mean, I had When the World Knows Your Name on CD, obviously back in the day, but my car didn't have a CD, so I used to transfer that to a cassette and put it in, and you know, I'd have that and the Fine Young Cannibals playing and stuff, and take the boys and girls home. Yeah, it's good. So.
I have one vivid memory of Buchan and a cassette incident, and I can't even say too much about it. Well, I can, other than what I can do is I can take this great opportunity to show the banner that says check out our sponsors at forceforward.co.uk. No, that's not the one. That's not the one, but it's still cool that it went along. We were going to go with grab your copy of The Disappearing Scotsman now at thedisappearingscotsman.com. And for anybody that remembers me posting a picture on Facebook when I did the only or the first, certainly the first friend that I had the honour of being able to, at the point in time when we had restriction sort of lowered, we were able to catch up, myself and Mr. Paddy Neal, and I gave him a copy of the book that he had purchased in person. We had a right good afternoon in a chat, and he's probably the only person that will know right off the bat about the tape incident that he and I had on the way up when I was dropping him back off after he and I had some lunch in my house in Bodham. And suffice to say that the tape appeared to be like chewing up our music and slowing it down, but it transpired on pushing eject that it wasn't chewing it up at all, that there was just something in our mind that was chewing the tape.
You're just a wrong one, weren't you?
I think. Of course, I can only speak for myself. I think it was something we ate. I think it was, something in our lunch. It was crazy. But anyway, enough about that. I think I've said plenty. Yes, if you want the full story is in the book. You just got to look hard enough, and you'll know exactly what it is. Anyway, so see what happens when our minds get flung back to bucking.
It's a good environment.
I've got a fair few memories of Deacon Blue, to be honest. We actually saw them. Wouldn't have been last year. It would have been the year before.
Right.
We saw them at party at the Palace over at Linlithgow.
Very good.
So yeah, it was very, very regal over at the Palace. Very nice. And so before we go into your next song, right? It's when I say party at the Palace and very regal, right? I've got a question for you, right? So thinking, we could talk about like recent events about like royals, but let's not, because everybody else does, and to be quite honest, it can.
You might know I don't watch the news or media or much TV.
Me either. I watched a bit of. I came down the other night from doing stuff, and I watched a bit of it with Karen, and I'm like, yeah, okay. And it was like I talked about it a little bit, but I'm like, right, move on, move on.
I don't even talk about it.
Yeah. So, but anyway, like what I was thinking about, the kind of money that gets thrown about, both, by royals, all the jazz, right? I'm thinking to myself, you declutter a lot. You prefer experiences over materialism, right? If you had 100 million quid, what would you spend it on?
Travel the world forever. Just travel.
And where would you go? And what would you do?
Everywhere and anywhere. I'd run with the Kenyans.
Yeah.
I'd live with the Peruvians. I'd just experience so many cultures as I could. Easy. Yeah. I sound like a Miss World contestant, but that is honestly right. I would take my lad out to school. I've got a 5-year-old, and he's just ace. But I would take him out and just experience it out there, and he would learn so much more than he would in passing exams. Just get him around the world, everywhere, from Chile to the Falklands, to Alaska, Australia, New Zealand, Tasmania, you name it. We would go and just travel and experience different cultures, probably for 6 months at a time to get a grasp of things.
you could probably do that with that amount of money. You could probably do that in style for the rest of your life easily.
I'd obviously take a traveling guitar as well.
What about that? What about that? That little mandolin.
Perfect.
When you're in Spain. Whereabouts do you think you would go first?
Good question. Probably Ireland.
I know somebody that will be.
But I would do what Mike Scott did. You take the band to Galway, to places off the beaten track, to not Dublin and everywhere else. But I would take, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't go to Peterhead. But in terms of Ireland and Scotland, I would go to the Highlands and go to the west of Ireland. I'd go to the west of Wales and South Wales and North Wales, and travel. Don't get me wrong, England, the northeast of England. Bulmer was my first tour in the Air Force, and Newcastle and Northumberland. It's like a second home. I always loved going back over the Tyne Bridge. I think I probably spoke about it before. But that was so special, and still is. It holds a romantic notion in my head. Going up to Northumberland, and I loved it there. Even I went back a couple of years ago, and it was just fantastic. I just had a permanent smile. Went in the tanners and sat there. It's hardly anyone in the afternoon, but it was like there was ghosts. I was picturing myself with my technician mates who I hung around with at the time, and I was picturing us there, and under the Lancaster model that Winston, the landlord from Yorkshire, used to put a flashlight on, a torch or whatever, and flash it halfway through the night. And it was brilliant. I was with Raf lads, and I was like, we'd be gubbed, absolutely gubbed, but he always looked after us, and it was brilliant to mix with the locals as well, and they were all friendly. It was lovely.
It's nice. Yeah, it's nice when you're made to feel welcome. Really nice, isn't it? And maybe you won't have to wait too long to get to Ireland if things can be sorted out. I think we've got enough people on to give us a comment. Look, Andy O'Hare had said about you going to Ireland. Wahoo! David said always welcome in Dublin. And Ian Fowler, yes, Saturday in Longhoughton now.
See, Longhoughton again was lovely. I used to live in the old Mary Quarter down there. It was just beautiful. It was just great. I really loved it. Going to Burnside and the old FBI Fisherman's Inn or whatever it was down at Bulmer. Spent most of my time in the tanners in Alnwick, I must admit, because I lived just behind it in Percy Terrace.
Yeah.
It's good. When you're 18, just turned 18, I was when I went to Bulmer. I was 17 and a half, ish, when I joined up. Went up to Bulmer, and the older guys there, the guys, sergeants on my watch, Steve Silcox, Al Watson, we all played rugby, and they just made me feel so welcome. Invited me to their houses to watch the rugby internationals, and forever grateful for that. Absolutely gave me just a sense of belonging in that community. Just brilliant guys, and I could name a lot more from that era as well. The Pattersons, Phil Patterson and Chris, and probably people that, I think your generation going to Buckham wouldn't have heard of. But at Bulmer, it was brilliant, absolutely. And it was still a CRC when I was there. And it went down to sort of reporting or control reporting post sort of status when I was there. But yeah, fantastic people, lovely.
Oh, there you go. Steve's on as well. Have a gaff and Anik. There you go. He says you're welcome when we get back there.
Yeah, so kind.
Whilst it's on, there's a couple of things that you mentioned tonight, and I thought that there was a few people that kind of sprung to mind. And Mr. O'Neill, when you were talking about Pink Floyd, and Mr. Large as well, both very, very big fans of Pink Floyd, will have loved that story, as did I. Yeah, I don't know if you saw. David said he said he'd seen Pink Floyd in Berlin.
Yeah.
That's the story he was telling me. I'll let him regale you with that, or
That's
just
the wall, isn't it? That's the wall. Yeah, I've seen the videos of that.
yeah. There you are. Look, there you go. Oh look, we're doing a reunion in Alnwick, it would appear. All right, folks, game on. Challenge accepted. Hold on, though, Hammy. Can we just put the record straight here? Are we going to meet up in the sense of like, getting together? Because you said, look at the way you spelt meet up. Mate, if you want that kind of meet up, mate, I think you should stay at home. Anyway, moving on.
There's a bit of a typo.
Or was it a Freudian typo, Hammy? I'm only joking, mate. I'm only kidding. Mr. O'Neill, si senor. Yes, indeed. There we go. Right, listen, we've done really, really well. I do have another couple of questions to ask you that I've got written down. I have to ask you. I really do. One that you're expecting anyway. But let's talk about the last song on the list. We're cooking, man. We're cooking. We've got 8 minutes, and we're going to nail it. Talk to me about This Must Be the Place by Talking Heads.
Oh, I tell you what, this is the song. Every Thursday, Alison and I play this, and we dance to it. And it's the latest version, basically. David Byrne's got white hair. Hey, we all grow old, you can't hide it. But the version is still brilliant. And probably the Talking Heads, this was the song that defined them in terms of in terms of what the Talking Heads were about. David Byrne is this enigmatic guy who is just fantastic in terms of he's autistic, and as a songwriter, they did a lot of soul and funk. The first 5 albums were soul and funk, and then all of a sudden this comes along, and he doesn't sing for the first minute. There's a minute of just music, and you're like, and you're getting into the vibe, and then it's a love song. It's a realization that you are, or he is in love. And it's just so brilliant in terms of, the acceptance of it. Make it up as we go along. The words, the lyrics. It's so clever. When you delve into the lyrics, it's just genius. Simple, but genius. Home. This must be the place. He's accepting that this is home now. And it's just, I love it. As I said, I like lyrics, and I like looking into the lyrics and what they mean. And David Byrne, back in the day, The Road to Nowhere and everything else, and Burning Down the House. This Must Be the Place wasn't the big album, wasn't the big song. Burning Down the House was the biggest hit, but This Must Be the Place, 30 plus years has stood the test of time. And everyone's, people listen. Arcade Fire did a copy of it. And there's an actual film. There's an actual film called This Must Be the Place. And in it, David Byrne makes a cameo appearance. And this little lad comes up to him and says, can you play This Must Be the Place by Arcade Fire? Which is just genius. David Byrne says, yeah, but it's not by them. It's like, we did it, and it's just brilliant, mate. It's just brilliant. And I love it. I love it to this day. I played it earlier tonight. It's on my running list when I run. It's just fantastic. And, I grew up, and when I was 16, 17, back in 83, 84, 82, 83, 84, we went to nightclubs because, you could get in. And I remember, Once in a Lifetime and The Road to Nowhere and these songs. People would have oversized jackets on doing the David Byrne dance because he always had an oversized jacket on. And there'd be people doing like press-ups on the dance floor to their songs and things. Deep in darker South Wales, in Stony nightclub, which got shut down. But it was just comedy, and it was just brilliant. Because David Byrne, if you watch him in his videos, the guy is just brilliant. He's just fantastic. So yeah, I love This Must Be the Place. Is just up there. And he summarizes the Talking Heads in one for me.
Right. It's brilliant, and I love what you said there about kids asking for the Arcade Fire version, right? Now, just before we go, let's see who's still listening, and throw this one out to anybody that's watching, because there's loads more songs like that through the decades where you've got cover versions that have come out like years down the line. Throw a couple in that you guys are aware of. We'll see which ones come, because I've been racking my brain. I'm kind of trying to think. I mean,
it's easy. Look at Valerie.
Oh, Valerie. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Crikey. Oh, that is that Zootons, right? That is absolute tune.
So it's that with a band, but the Zootons version.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I kind of quite liked. I quite liked what she did with it.
Amy was great. It was a brilliant version.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. They're not saying anything. So on that, right? I was gonna just thinking about what you were saying about David Byrne and standing the test of time, right? And I think I can't actually think of a better question to kind of close on tonight, right? It could be said that we're starting to stand the test of time, right? We're at that age. We're all right. We're not going anywhere soon, and we're kind of going, right, let's have it. Let's see what you've got for us now, life. Let's do it. Let's go for it. Let's JFDI. Now that's going to be the last question, right? But the question that I wanted to ask you now is, like you were saying, looking back, standing the test of time. If you, millions of years from now, right, and we're talking about to this point in time, if there was a book written about your life, what would it be called, and what would the blurb say?
The book would be called, it sounds rehearsed, doesn't it? We've not spoken about this now, you put me on the spot. However, the book would be called Never Regret Anything on Your Deathbed.
Yes. And what would the blurb say?
What would the what say?
What would the blurb? So when you pick the book up and it was like, never regret anything on your deathbed, right? You're looking it up in the book, and then you flip the book over and you've got like a brief synopsis of the book.
Right.
What is that?
Fuck it. Because I read a book and it was absolutely brilliant. It was about a guy that ran from Land's End to John O'Groats. And he did it in sort of stages. He stopped off with his sister in Birmingham for a few nights. He ran unaided. And at the end, and I think many years ago, I sent you this. In fact, I did. I know I did. And he said, I haven't got now what I started with. He said, all gods are false. And he, I lived for the chemical bliss of the running and everything else. And it was a superb half a page of rhetoric. And it was just brilliant. And it resonated with me. And he went, at the end, we're all runners. We're all fucking doing it. And he went, fuck it. And it was just brilliant. And it just summed up his run. When I finish my John O'Groats to Land's End run, that's it. I've done it. Fuck it. It doesn't matter, does it? Yeah. It's a personal thing. You've done it. No one can comment on it. Or people can comment on it. You don't need to listen to it. Unless you ask for an opinion.
Do you know, one of the things that I remember from our last chat was I because I'm no daft. I've listened to it very recently, like today, and as you kind of close there, I remember one of the things that you said just towards the beginning of the chat we had last time, and that was about how you'd been listening to someone talk about life, and they had got to a point where they had realised that it's all there for us to have a laugh. It's there for us to have fun. That's what life is about. It's about enjoying yourself. It's about having fun and not taking things too seriously. Correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Remind me who it was? Do you remember? Neither could I. I was hoping you'd go, yes, it was so-and-so. I can't remember. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I think it's a brilliant place.
No, I can't.
Do you not remember?
But that's what life is about, isn't it?
Absolutely. So in closing, tell me this, right? How are you applying your JFDI right now?
So the music studio, boom. I've not recorded my music before to this level. I've got some kit. I'm happy with doing that. A few more bits to get. Happy. Yoga. So February, I was like, what is this all about? I've got adhesive capsulitis in my shoulders. My shoulders are absolutely bollocks from playing rugby, doing gymnastics when I was a kid. And I couldn't lift my shoulder above the horizontal. Honestly, absolute shoulders were painful. But look at this now. That's yoga. That's yoga right there. So I've started doing yoga, breathing. Don't get me wrong. I'm struggling with all this integrity and in touch with the land shit. But I can breathe and I can move my shoulders, and that's what I need to do. So I'm getting physio on them. But, well, in fact, in a few weeks. But in the meantime, I'm helping myself.
I love it. Love it. See when we get the chance to meet up. Are you up for a bit of cold water exposure?
I'll do anything you want.
It's one of the things that I think everybody should at least try. And if you get in that water and you stay in there for 10 seconds, that's cool. If you can stay in there, it's such an experience. And you know, it's is that next?
Yeah, I mean,
what about this? What about this instead? I was thinking about this. As soon as the years allow, right? I was thinking of this thing, a challenge for 2022 or maybe 2023. It really depends. I like the idea of a Monroe a month.
Yeah, but you're all right. You're in Scotland. I've got to travel about 400 miles. So I'll tell you about the cold water treatment in 2000 when I left the RAF and I joined BAE. I was running about 4 times at lunchtime.
Yeah,
I'd have a cold shower every day at lunchtime after the run.
Yeah,
and also the cold water and the cold treatment. So when I go to Finland skiing, which I did until COVID every year, I jump in one of these pools that was like, make your bollocks come into your throat, and just breathe. Alison would give it, oh my God, and her brother, who's a big guy, he would give it, Jesus Christ, what are you doing? And I would just give in. I'd just go in and just give it. It's just brain control, isn't it? It's just mind control. Easy.
Yeah.
Easy.
All it is in the body. It's like, going into cold water, there's that cold water shock, but you control the breathing, the body settles down, and within a period of time, you get over the shock. It's like, and it's like you can always go into a warm shower and then turn it slowly to cold, and then it's not as much of a, but it's like, but the benefits after, amazing. Anyway, I'm sure that people don't want to hear us talking about cold water. They're going, shut up, Richardson. Go and get in your ice bath. Listen, it's been an absolute blast tonight. I'm gonna thank you very much. Any parting words, we won't go through. We've said hello to everybody, and thank you very much for joining, Mr. Langdon and I. But any final messages for everybody this evening?
The best lyric I've ever heard was James, all sit down. If I hadn't seen such riches, I could live with being poor.
What a way to close. I concur. Yeah. Brilliant. Stay in the green room, and we will we'll interlude into your after party and say goodnight to everybody else, because I'm not finished with you. Listen, thank you so much. Thank you everybody for tuning in. It has been absolutely fantastic. Paul, thank you, guys. Thanks. We're back. Oh, should we just show everybody who it is? Look, I hope he knows. Next week at 8 p.m. into Paul Morris. So please join us then. So thank you and good night from Paul and I. See you later next week on the JFDI podcast. Toodaloo!